Hi, and welcome to this session where I'm going to show you the basic toolkit to house your collection. So first of all, if you want to invest in material to house your collection, you would prefer to invest your money in good quality paper and board archival material. Whilst here, I'm going to show you tools that you can actually find in a lot of local shops where you don't have to invest that much. So let's start with the first item. So for pencils, you have different ranges. You have different range of pencil. You have H or B. So always try to go for HB or for H and not for B, because I'm going to show you that. So B stands for blackness. And if you use a B pencil, it's going to be more difficult to erase. So here I'm going to show you a line with a HB pencil. You see a very straight line. I don't have to push very hard and it's light but still visible. While if I take a 8B, it's much more darker and will be much more difficult to erase. Also, when you're using the pencil, try not to push too hard, because if you do that, you're going to indent the paper and the board, and you don't want that. You want it to be as if nothing was written on this paper. So now let's talk about rubbers. There's a lot of choice of rubbers on the market, and the one you want to go with is the Mars Plastic Stadler. This one is actually the less abrasive rubber you can find on the market. So it's very easily accessible and is the one you should use. Steel ruler. So we recommend you to go for one of these steel ruler that shows the millimeters and the centimeters. So it's always better to get a small one, a medium one, and a larger one. If you only have budget for one of the rulers, we recommend you to go for at least the 60 centimeter long one, or even better, the 1 meter long one. In order to have your lines straight, you want to use a square. So this is a square, and as its name says it's going to allow you to make very nice and square corners. Now, how do you cut your paper and board? So there are several options. You can use a Stanley knife like this one. This is really great because it's going to give you a lot of stability when cutting. So it's a nice choice. But you can also use a craft knife like this one. It's a bit more flimsy, if I can say, than a Stanley knife, but it works really well too if you're being careful. Or you can use a scalpel and a blade. There's different types of blades you can choose, but we would recommend you to go for a straight one like this one, or even better, a 10A. So this blade is called a 10A, and it comes like this. Try to avoid curved blade when you want to cut straight. So when you want to fold the line, you want it to be nice and sharp. For that, we're going to use bone folders like these ones. Very accessible, even in your craft shop, local craft shop. You can also use a Teflon folder. These ones are a bit more flexible, so that means that your line, you're going to have less strength when you press the line. But the advantage of it is that it's not going to what we call burnish. That means polish the surface of the paper. Also, it's a little bit more expensive. So the bone folder is fine, and you could go with that very easily, and it's going to make a really nice fold when you're using the bone folder. Cutting mat. So here I have a very small cutting mat. We recommend you to go for a big one, like the one I have here on the table. That's going to make your life much more easier if you do that. So try to go for a cutting mat that is as big as possible. Permanent markers and labeling. So this is really important. When you want to label your collection, your boxes, this is where you're going to spend a little bit more money. You want your label to stay put even if there's a flood, let's say, in your storage area. You want the label to stick even if there's water, and for that you're going to go for a good quality one. So the best one, your best option would be the fold backed labels that you can find in a conservation specialized company, and we're going to link all the information in the description box below. When you want to write a reference code on your label, use a permanent marker. Like this, you're sure that the reference will never change and it's going to stay the same when you have that label. When you use labels, try to use a good size label that is visible, that is clear, and also try to be consistent and to put the label every time at the same spot on all your boxes across your collection. Try to write on your label with capitals, so the reference code is very visible and clear for everyone. Permanent paper will be also used to make one of the houses we're going to show you in a video later on. It's going to be a polyester dust jacket, and this permanent marker will help you to mark on the plastic itself. So that's also useful to create housing. So nothing fancy about the scissor. You just have to have any type of scissor. They just need to be sharp and clean. With some of the boxes we're going to round the corners. And for that, we just need a coin. So with that and a scalpel, we'll be able to make a nice rounded corner. And you can also use scissors. So this is not necessary, but it's useful to have. White glue. So this will be useful for some of the boxes we're going to show you. As conservators, we always use EVA because it's a type of white glue that is pH neutral and that is not going to off-gas what we call VOCs, volatile organic compounds. So that's why we always prefer EVA. But we can understand that your institution maybe doesn't have the access to this quite fancy type of white glue. So you could, in certain circumstances, use PVA. Only use PVA if you can let it dry for a couple of weeks before putting it back in your storage area. You don't want the VOC to off-gas in there. Also, if you use PVA, never put it in an area that's going to be directly in contact with the object you want to preserve. To apply the white glue, you're going to need brushes. So for this, very simple. Any type of brushes will be good. They just need to be clean. They can be synthetic, no problem with that. Just make sure they're clean and that you wash them very thoroughly after using the white glue. For the corrugated board box that we're going to do in a later video, we're going to need a spatula, but this is actually optional. You can have one. If you don't, that's fine. But if you can find a spatula like this one, that's great. If you don't, you can also use a bamboo skewer like this one, and we're going to show you later on how to use it. Sometimes, instead of using a pencil, you can actually score the paper in order to show the line where you want to cut. So here I have a paper, and I can just score the line I want to mark, just like so. And this is useful because that means that I don't have to use a pencil that I have to erase afterwards. But this is an optional tool. You don't have to have it. This is also a scoring tool it's actually a porcupine quill. So it's nice to have in your collection because it's also beautiful, but it's not necessary. And finally, we might use as well Bulldog clips like these ones and little pieces of boards like this. That is going to help us to hold the boards in place while the glue is drying and make sure the box are rigid and robust and solid for your object to preserve. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot and I see you in the next session. Bye.